Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth. As always, with ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're growing and building your business. So how would you like to get 20 hours of your time back? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about today how to maximize your time and live in your sweet spot so you're working less time on the stuff that doesn't matter and you can really focus on what does matter. Now, the biggest conundrum for most of our clients is they need to build systems and processes to optimize their teams to produce more profit, but they never get the time to do it. So it's kind of like this terrible pattern that keeps repeating itself. So it starts with implementing the 3 C's with your team. So the 3 C's in this context mean, first, they need the clarity to make good decisions on their own, right? That means giving them really good goals and expectations, helping them with priorities, understanding how their role actually fits into the whole, and how all of that contributes to revenue generating activities, how their time contributes to that. So that's the first C. The second C is about context. That is giving them the big picture to understand how everything that they're doing fits into the whole. That is your vision, your 3-year strategic plan, your big picture, your big why. And why do you need to do this? So that they can be autonomous, so that they have the information to make decisions on their own, to execute without your blessing, so that they can make good decisions on their own without you, which I know is a big pain point for a lot of you. And the third thing here is giving them the certainty that they need so they can actually be bold, dare things, do things on their own. So that means you giving them the coaching and the leadership that they need to keep growing. So this is giving them feedback, helping them understand how they can get to better results. And all of this keeps coming back to creating more time for you, because when they have the context, they can make better decisions on their own. When they have the clarity, they can move forward without you. And when they have certainty, they actually will move forward without you, right? So everything we're talking about here goes back to creating more time for you, not only for more you time, but also for more CEO time, so that you can actually spend your time being more strategic and creating, like stepping into the shoes your business really needs you to step into. Because if this is not happening, you probably haven't made the flip yet. And the flip means you going from working 10% on your business and 90% in your business to going 10-90 to 90-10, where you work 90% on your business and 10% in your business. Because your ultimate goal is that when you're looking at everything that you're doing, everything that the team is doing, everything that you contribute to, that in the end, when this is all said and done, that you only do the 5% that only you can do. Everything else gets taken care of your team. Because when you think about it, you contribute the highest value to your company of anybody in your team. So your time needs to be maximized. And look, the other thing that I just touched on is most of you got into being entrepreneurs because you wanted freedom in your life. And what happened to your freedom? How much time are you spending with your family right now? How much time are you spending on your health, on other opportunities? So what if you could get back 20 hours of your time every single week? Like, feel that for a minute. What would that feel like to do that? And you can. So then think about the business side. How effective could you be with 20 more hours a week that you could truly focus on strategizing? Like taking back your time as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as a leader, as a person. Because the big value, the big money really gets created when you get clear about what your plan is, what the goals and expectations are. And that's what you're focused on. That's how you create the revenue. Because if you don't do that, It means every single week you are rewriting the playbook because you didn't have one to start with. And that's a ton of detours, mistakes, changes, and uncertainty for everybody, you and your team included here. So let's say you didn't do your retrospective on Friday. So that means you don't have a team now, you don't have a plan now for the next week. So come Monday, you're stressed, you're unclear, you have to redo everything. So instead of looking at your playbook and adjusting it and dialing it in and making it more and more valuable, you're starting from scratch. So what you really need is a system that brings all of this together. So once a quarter, you make a great plan. And then you overhaul that plan once a week. So once a week, you reprioritize with the team. So the plan doesn't change that much. It just responds to the market. It responds to the customer. It responds to, whatever else is going on. But largely it stays the same, but it's important for you to reprioritize so the team understands the things that you already know. So this is why we make adjustments. And how do you do that? It's when you understand where and what to focus on, no matter what curveballs get thrown at you, right? So when you think about when there's a big fire that's happening, what I hear from most of our clients is I spend most of my time fighting fires and fixing mistakes. Because what happens is there's a fire, they jump in both feet first, and they solve the problem. And that takes up most of their time and bandwidth and energy. And by the time they get to doing anything strategic, they are tired, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they have nothing left. So what it should look like is what we call the 595, where you spend 5% of your time on this, where your team takes over 95%. So the way that works is you spend 5% of your time assessing the problem, translating it to your team, transferring responsibility, and then supporting them and helping them execute. So they execute, you just support them in whatever they need so they can get it done. So that means your team handles most of this with your time minimally affected. So if you have constant fires right now, it's probably because you haven't taken care of the 3 C's, and your team can't and won't solve problems on their own, which means you don't trust them to even do it. Because look, let's be honest, fires are the nature of business. You're not in the business of whatever you do. You're in the business of solving problems, solving challenges, addressing challenges. So expect them and then train your team for what to do so that even under pressure, they can execute at the highest level possible. One of my favorite books is The Score Takes Care of Itself by Bill Walsh, where he talks a ton about how it's not important, it's not possible to practice something once. And like, we all know that. We would never expect this from a high-level sports team, that they practice once and then they go out and play the big games. But somehow we expect this from our teams in business, that we practice with them once in a while, that we basically leave them on their own most of the time, and then we expect that they got it handled, which that can't happen. So let's go back to understanding where and what to focus on and how to get there so that you get your time back and that you can be more strategic. So we do this by time blocking for strategic work. Some of our clients have come up with great names for this. So it's the power hour, the secret hour, the miracle hour, the magic hour, whatever you want to call it. And that starts by understanding, hey, what does strategic mean? What's the stuff that I should be doing that's actually strategic? And to be honest, it changes all the time. And that's why we have a really good plan. That's our guideline. That's our North Star. This is kind of that draws this direct line between A and B, but then life happens, which accounts for all sorts of changes and detours, but that's just how it is. So you have to have a good plan, and then you have to be able to have a system in place that helps you work the plan. So some people say, hey, weekly planning is so much work. Can we get rid of that? No, but we want to minimize the time it takes to work on the plan by what I just said, by having a really good plan, then chunking it down into weekly priorities and adjusting it as necessary, and then working the plan. So the better you and your team get at planning, at strategic thinking, at really involving the peer-to-peer delegation and peer reviews and feedback, the less it is on you. So the better, I'm going to say it again, the better you and your team get at planning, the less time you need to spend at it. Because the better you get at it, that means the more you account for curveballs, and the more it's not a surprise and it can be easily handled. So the more we do that, the less it's on you. Your team can actually solve their own problems, and they can start executing like true professionals. So poor planning and poor management, poor time management, we know that it leads to poor execution, overwhelm, and overwork. So time blocking keeps you strategic. Now, how do you do that? First of all, you need to know how you actually spend your time. So that means you doing a time study. That means every day for a week or so, every single thing you do gets noted down, and you get to decide at the end of the day, hey, what of this was actually useful and what wasn't? Where did I get in the weeds, and where should I have focused? So part of this is understanding what do you do versus what you should be doing. Because next year is, you want to understand, hey, for what you should be doing, how much time do you actually need for that? Because that's what you need to account for when you start time blocking. So you can't do appropriate time blocks if you don't know how much time to allocate to what the priorities are. So what are your priorities? And then the other part is, what do you want versus what do you need, in terms of what do you want to do versus what do you need to do. Like, here's the caveat with that whole thing. Because a lot of times what you want to focus on is really not what you need to focus on. So what we tend to do is we tend to go back to our comfort zone because it's known and easy. And if you haven't established time blocks for stretch activities, like the stuff that you really don't want to do, but you know you need to do it, you go right back to your comfort zone, which means you're not moving forward in your business. So time blocking forces you to focus on those needle moving activities and new opportunities that truly make a difference in your business. And let's be honest, when things get tough, what gets cut short? It's all the stuff that you really need to do. It's but you don't necessarily want to do. It's the high level meetings where you need to show up like a true leader. It's the one-on-ones. It's the strategic thinking. It's the training. These are all the big needle movers, all the stuff that you need to do. So they don't happen, or they get forced into places where they're not effective. Like, I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, all day long I'm working really in my business, and then I'm just going to get up an hour earlier and stay an hour later to work on the stuff that's working on the business. Now, I mean, early in the morning, if you're an early morning person, great, do it then. But for a lot of people, that's not a great time to be doing stuff. Late at night, everybody's fried and tired, so that's not a good time to do stuff. So oftentimes what that means is you resent even more what you're doing. You're not prioritized, you're not effective. This is a whole bad cycle. So you have to plan for desirable and undesirable stuff to happen, or the plan will use you versus you using the plan. So that means you're not having freedom, you're not being strategic, and you're having a constant lack of time and focus, and you feel helpless. So let's recap this for a second. We start by setting the team up to produce more profits and to become more autonomous by using the 3 C's. So give them what they need so that they can produce at a higher level. Part of that is mindset and focus that really all of us need to bring to the table. So you save your time, and everybody saves their time by working in their sweet spot. So first of all, know how you spend your time right now. Know what you need and what you want to do, and understand the difference. So when you have both, and you and your team, when all of you are doing this, right, where you understand what you're actually doing versus what you should be doing, it gives you clarity of role and clarity of purpose. And it also helps you understand where you need to focus so that you can grow. Then once you understand that, look at the stuff that you really need to do. How do you appropriately block time? It's like, how much time do you need to block for each of those activities on your calendar? And then it needs to go on your calendar or it won't happen. Start with, what's the stuff that's set in stone? Like in your personal life, with your family, with your business, with your team, what's the stuff that you absolutely need to get on your calendar? And as you do that, keep asking yourself, is this really true? Is this really mine to do? Could this be someone else's? Think about giving a lot of opportunities to your team, because that means they can grow, they can get better, and everybody breaks old patterns where you particularly shift from being the doer to the CEO. Then look at your calendar puzzle and move things around, plan for the expected and plan for the unexpected. And then getting your work done in a truly efficient way where you prioritize your family and your life. So know what blocks you need to plan for, all the stuff you need to do, remember, versus what you want to do. How much time do you need for each? And are you spending enough time on your needle movers, on the stuff that's stretching you? You have to know what to say no to. The bigger and the better you get, the more you need to say no. So what's the stuff you need to say no to, and where do you empower others? So get this down to your 15 to 20 reoccurring blocks and set it. And then step 2 is, you don't want your team to just kind of look like you scattered popcorn all over. It's kind of like multitasking. It doesn't work. If you're constantly jumping from one thing to another, you lose a lot of efficacy. Your brain has to restart all the time. So you want to tone that down and really lessen that mental switching. So categorize and batch your blocks. So when you think about that, what does that mean? It's like, okay, some people like having all their one-on-ones in one day. Some people like to have all their external meetings in one day. Maybe one day you focus on product, on content. One day you focus on setting up new opportunities. Now, some things, when we're talking about opportunities, will have to happen, will need to happen every single day. So you're reviewing your plan, you reprioritize, you adjust, and you coach through it. So leads is probably something that you need to focus on every day. Addressing lifetime value for your clients, probably something you need to focus on every day. Any automations that you're working on. So the main needle movers for the company, leads, sales, automations, training, all that is what creates leaders at every level for you, and that has to happen consistently every single day. So realistically, probably half your day goes into your time-blocked activities, and half your day goes to the stuff you always need to be doing. But that alone, when you boil it down to that, will help you get so much more effective, and it will help you save a ton of your time. You can start with that power hour, right? Where every single day you have an hour to be strategic. That's the stuff that you must do every day. And then you work your theme for the day. So getting strategic, working on the stuff that you must do every single day, and then you work on your theme for the day. So if your team has really low confidence around this, they will keep asking you. So they won't be able to solve problems on their own. So you have to show up as their coach and not as their provider of answers. So when you first start this, it will be really difficult for them to shift their own mindset. So come in, refuse to give them the answers, but ask them more questions and coach them to the answers, and lock in that they have come up with their own answers, and that's how they will get better and better at this. In the beginning, this is often not easy because you've created the pattern that they're responding to. So if you're the one who's always come up with all the answers, that's what they're expecting. So now we need to train them to do this differently. So this process doesn't happen overnight. And remember, you have to grow before your team can grow. So here's the big thing: a team can never outgrow its leader. So you must give them all the 3 C's that we talked about in here before they can really shift and deliver at a different level. So I hope this helped tremendously. If you want to know more or you have some questions, you can always go to the link that's below this video, and you can reach out and we can schedule some time together. So I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will talk to you next time.